this matter is with respect to Local 128 appeal, and particularly with respect to matters surrounding it, Northeast Pickering. I think the motion speaks for itself as to what's requested. When this motion was tabled in June, it was tabled for the express purpose of trying to force some strong consideration of a settlement of this matter that could only go forward, in my view, with the dropping of the Northeast Pickering proposal. Council will probably recall, or some may not, that 3 years ago, when this council adopted Local 128, it was adopted with Northeast Pickering in it, despite the objections of myself and several other councillors that be the case. And 2 years ago, the province of Ontario made it very clear that they were not accepting the inclusion of Northeast Pickering in Local 128. And it has been the source of many of the problems with respect to Local 128. Now, since this motion was tabled, there have, through the summer, at the instance of many of the developers involved in both Sept and Local 128, a mediation process which has resulted, to my understanding, in a tentative settlement of this matter, which still has details to be ironed out. That tentative settlement provides for the deletion of the Northeast Pickering proposal quite appropriately, and certainly that is supported by the town of Ajax, which is a party to these proceedings. However, I want to bring to councillors' attention that certain things in that proposal will not be acceptable and need to be refined. First of all, it is, Councillor Parish, are you going to promote anything? No. Out of a potential settlement? No. That I know you haven't seen? No, I haven't seen it. I'm not quoting anything because I haven't seen it. I don't have it. I'm just bringing to the attention of council that it's my understanding that when the Northeast Pickering parcel is dropped out of the proposal, even though there are some 14,000 jobs, 26,000 population, that the numbers on the schedules are not going to be revised. And why should that concern you? It should concern you because it will mean that the population figures won't be accurate. And your area municipal staff will be asked to complete your growth conformity exercises on the basis of inaccurate figures. Just one example. The basis of the numbers in the original ROPA 128, which will not be adjusted for the city of Pickering, is 110,085 people in 2011. The actual census figure that we just received is 92,270, a 20% discrepancy. That means that your conformity exercises are going to be based on figures that aren't correct, and it's going to artificially mean that further urban boundary expansions can be justified based on false numbers. It means, in other words, that there's an attempt to, I know we have to delete Northeast Pickering, but to bring it back quickly through a back door in a near-term time frame. And you should be very concerned about that, because that's going to affect your submissions for future urban boundary expansions when they come. This has always been about good planning versus bad planning, sprawl versus appropriate development, which Northeast Pickering represented the worst of sprawl type planning, the worst of politically driven, not scientifically driven planning. But it's also been about the need, when we plan, to put the environment first. One of Ajax's major concerns here has been that the Carruthers Creek and East Durham, or East Duffins Creek, although they start in Pickering, flow through our municipality. And yet, in putting Northeast Pickering into the mix, there was no requirement for watershed plan and no stipulations that there cannot be any adverse impacts downstream in those watersheds. That needs to be put into the document, that if Northeast Pickering ever does come back, and we know from experience that these things tend to come back, but if and when it does come back, there must be stipulations that there must not only be watershed plans, but there must be documentation and proof that there is no negative downstream effect, which is not in the plan right now. Why does that affect you? Why should you care? East Uplands Creek and Prentice Creek aren't my municipality, because the same principle is going to be important to you when you expand your boundaries. And if you put the environment and the watersheds last for something to discover after you've approved the change in land use, you're going to come up with a bad surprise when it's in your municipality, and a creek in your municipality that's being revised at its headwaters. So I just want to bring to your attention the fact that at some point in the not too distant future, a proposal for the settlement of this matter is going to come forward. It's going to deal with a number of issues that surround Northeast Pickering. Ajax supports, in principle, the deletion of Northeast Pickering and the general terms of the settlement. But we need, in Ajax, as a party, to be consulted